Okay, I'm going to be tying a Clouser Minnow as we would fish in Puget Sound for Coho salmon with a stinger hook attached. I have never made a tying video before, so go easy on me here. There's a million videos out there for tying Clousers, but there's not much for tying anything for Puget Sound as we tie with a stinger. To start with, I'm using a Mustad 34007 DT hook in a size 2. This hook is just going to be used as a shank, so you can use any hook. After I get done, I'm going to clip this hook off. And I'm using a 140 denier hot pink thread. Coho salmon in Puget Sound tend to be extremely nippy with their takes. They will come up directly behind the fly oftentimes, and often they will follow it all the way to the rod tip before taking. But because they tend to follow from behind, if you fish a standard style fly with the hook in the front, you'll often result in a lot of short strikes. So the solution to this is to hang a stinger hook clear in the back of the fly. To do this, I'm using Fireline 30-pound material here. You can use a lot of different materials. A lot of people use Mono or Amnesia. Power Pro in the 100-pound works well. I like the Fireline because it's still fairly limp. I think a limper material allows better action, but it's still very durable and will hold the fly where I want it to. So I just looped this material and I'm tying it down to the top of the hook shank right now. And I like a long stinger loop on my flies. I like my hook to be at the very back end of my fly, so if they come up and eat it at all, they're going to get a hook in their mouth. I also tend to fish bigger flies on the beach than most guys. I like Clousers in the 5-inch or so range. So after tying that all the way to the forward, we're just going to take the fire line and run it back under through the eye of the hook and then secure it back down. Trim our butt ends. At this point, I like to go ahead and hang my hook on there. I'm using a Gamakatsu barbless octopus hook size 1. I find that this hook is just perfect for Puget Sound coho. You notice he just put the whole loop through the eye of the hook and then spread the loop apart and pull the hook back up through it and pull it tight. Now the advantage of this is that you can change out your hook while you're fishing. If your hook becomes dinged up, dulled, or whatever, you can just change out the hook and keep fishing the same fly. Now I want to build just a slight little thread bump here where I'm going to put my eyeballs, and then I'll put a coat of Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. I use a lot of this stuff on these flies. I find that really helps the durability. For an eyeball, I'm using a Spirit River Realize Plus in the 7/32 size, and I'm just going to attach it up against my thread bump with some figure 8 wraps. And then it's important to do some helicopter wraps underneath to really lock those wraps in place. I like to use quite a few wraps to really make sure this thing is secure on there. It's a pet peeve of mine with these style of flies when the eyes slide all around the hook shank. Okay, make sure that our eyeballs are lined up. And then we'll put another coat of Sally Hansen's on there. Okay, to start off, I'm going to go with a cerise bucktail. You can use any color combination you like for coho, for anything. I think chartreuse and cerise is really difficult to beat. I've got a lot of coho on this fly. I've hooked Chinook on this fly. It's good during pink salmon years because you can catch coho and pinks with it. I've caught sea run cutthroat, rockfish, lingcod, you name it, this fly will produce. None of this fly is of my creation or anything like that. I'm simply using some steps of other folks. It's a good simple fly, and I like easy to tie flies that'll catch fish. So we don't need very much bucktail. The secret of the bucktail is to use less than you even think you need. This is maybe half of a pencil, maybe. Go ahead and just put a couple loose wraps on there and tighten it up as we go. Oops. Now over the top of that bucktail, I'm going to put some polar flash over it. My favorite flash material is the DNA hollow chromosome flash, but it's getting harder and harder to find, and I'm out of it, so polar flash is a good substitute. One thing when you're tying in your flash is you want to make sure to have the flash extend past the body, the bucktail material, a good inch, if not more. The long flashy tail really seems to help their hookup ratio. I think this softer flash, when you're retrieving it, it really undulates and is tough for the fish to resist. Okay, I'm going to come back ahead of the eyeballs here. I'm going to trim this flash a little bit just because I got a little bit longer than I need to. See, it's about an inch or so past the body. It's basically dead even with the hook. So any fish that comes up and wants to eat the back end of this fly is going to get a mouthful of hook. Now, just forward of the eyeballs, I'm going to attach some pearl flat diamond braid. I like to just get a wrap and then I'll kind of pull it back so I don't have to trim those loose ends. Then I'm going to just come back behind the eye and secure it and wrap back. And we're just going to wrap this diamond braid forward. This is just going to help to add a little pizzazz to the fly and really seems to increase the durability. When you're fishing the beaches of Puget Sound, flies get banged around an awful lot on the rocks and wood and whatnot behind you, so anything that you can do to add durability to the fly is a Good thing. Okay. Now at this point I'm going to go ahead and whip finish this. And remove the thread. So I'm going to reattach a red thread right behind the eyeballs. And this is to simulate the gills on a bait fish. I don't know if this step is at all necessary, but I like the look of it, so I like to do it. Just get a good few wraps in there, and we'll finish it right behind the eyeball. And I will put another little coat of Sally Hansen's on there to help toughen it up. Reattach my thread. And then we will invert the hook. Now we're going to go with a chartreuse bucktail. Chartreuse has got to be about the fishiest color on the planet if you ask me, especially in the salt water. Cut off a nice chunk, pull out the underfur. Again, we don't need very much. Key with bucktail is less is more. If you think you have enough, pull out maybe even just a few more hairs. Okay, I got that about where I want it. Now we're going to line it up for our length. Trim the ends. Go ahead and attach that. I like to use 1 or 2 loose wraps and then kind of cinch it tight while keeping pressure on the top to keep it lined up. Okay, and then to finish it off, we're going to attach some chartreuse crystal flash. I like to make my flies pretty flashy. You can certainly adjust to your style of fishing or what you are fishing for. Again, we want it to extend beyond the body a little bit, inch or so. Just attach that right on there. And then all that's left is to finish your head. Finish that off with a couple of whip finishes. and another coating of Sally Hansen's. Okay, the final step will just be to remove the fly, and using a pair of dikes I'm gonna clip the hook off of the front hook, so that's all that's left is the shank. And there we have it. Coho Clouser with a stinger hook. You see that with the fire line, the hook does hang a little bit low at rest, but when in the water and when this fly is under retrieve, it will ride just like it's supposed to. And you can certainly experiment with different color combinations, different materials, different sizes. This video is to just give an idea of how to attach the stinger hook and finish off the fly.